Welcome to Global View. Join us on this multi-visual journey around the world. Trump slams Macron for insulting NATO comments.
And we'll head into what's actually going on right now. And general thoughts, big takeaways. The president has been speaking in London. So far, Richard Haas, your concerns, your takeaways.
Well, the president has a unique style of going into summits. Even before this summit began, introducing new tariffs against France, so essentially escalating the trade war with them. Also unilaterally introducing new tariffs against two countries in Latin America for allegedly devaluing or artificially manipulating their currencies when there's no evidence they were doing that. Mm-hmm. This is an administration that's essentially sanctions happy and tariffs happy. Yeah. They love the economic instruments of foreign policy. They don't, not so much diplomacy, not so much the use of military force. And I think the largest story in Europe is, to use my favorite word, a Europe or a NATO in disarray. The president went after Macron this morning, to some extent fairly. Macron had a really unfortunate interview with The Economist about 2 weeks ago calling NATO brain dead. But there's real divisions with Turkey, real divisions about how to deal with Russia. President keeps hammering the Europeans for not spending enough on defense. But what essentially we're seeing is this alliance that was pivotal to the United States and the West through the Cold War for 4 decades. Increasingly, there's no consensus, and consensus politically is always the foundation of an alliance. And the president has, to use the word of the day, a very transactional approach to alliances. Absolutely. Rather than thinking about strategic purpose, he constantly has a ledger and basically asks, are others paying enough, rather than
focused on money.
Rather than on saying whether we are getting enough out of it, which is something very different.
But apart from the question, isn't there a transitional situation in Europe as well? Because Macron's stepping back. Merkel is stepping back, and Macron's trying to assert himself as kind of the new man of Europe.
He is. The problem is France alone is not strong enough to do it, and France doesn't have a European partner. Originally, it was going to be Germany. Merkel said, no thanks. The Merkel era is essentially over, as you say. And, with the Brits, essentially, I think Brexit is almost a foregone conclusion now, given the election on December 12th, the illiberalism we're seeing in Hungary and Poland, the crazy government in Italy. Europe is going through, actually, its single most difficult moment since the foundations of modern Europe after World War II.
Joe.
But Willie, again, it seems every political move Donald Trump makes on the world stage benefits Vladimir Putin. Here we have him once again going to a NATO summit, once again attacking NATO allies, once again undermining an alliance that was actually put together for the purposes of holding Russia and Russia expansion in check. And on top of that, he started even more trade wars when the tariff taxes that he's imposed on working class Americans is really starting to be felt in this economy. We've got a manufacturing recession for the first time in a decade, and every economist says that's because of the tariff wars. He said it was that these trade wars were easy. It's proving to be just the opposite, and yet here we are this morning with the president expanding those trade wars even more.
Yeah, and at a time when these alliances are frayed anyway, as Richard said, when Europe is shaky on its own, you have the president coming in and shaking it up a little more. There is some irony in President Trump's criticism, although it may be well-founded, as Richard said, of Macron, saying Macron's being disrespectful to NATO, which has sort of been the role of President Trump through the years, including up until about yesterday.
Trump and Canadian PM Trudeau speak during NATO summit.
Just a little while ago about supporting the people protesting in Iran and are going through a very tough period, and we do support them totally and have supported them from the beginning. The question was asked, do we support them, I thought, financially? And we haven't supported them. I don't know that we've ever been actually asked to support them financially. And somebody asked, maybe we would. But we support them very, very seriously. The people that are protesting in Iran, they're looking for their freedom. And we are fully in support of them. So I wanted to, just in case anybody had any questions. We haven't been asked to support them financially, which I assume that's what the question was, just to make sure everybody understood it. It's an honor to be with a friend of mine who just had a great election victory. Congratulations.
Thank you, Donald.
And done a very good job. And we actually have a very good relationship, and a good relationship in terms of our countries. We're working on the USMCA. We're trying to get Nancy Pelosi to put it up for a vote. If it gets put up for a vote, it passes. But so far, she hasn't decided to do that. It's up to her. It's actually a single individual has the Speaker of the House. It's that person's decision, and she's the Speaker of the House. And it's a great deal for Mexico and for Canada and for the United States, and it's a lot of jobs for everybody, and it replaces a deal that's really a lousy deal, a bad deal for, I can tell you, what I would say for the United States, that the deal that we have right now is terrible, NAFTA, terrible. It's been a terrible deal for the United States. So we look forward to being able to take the vote on USMCA. It's been there for a long time, and at some point, perhaps the president of Mexico, we have a wonderful man there, he really is. He's been a wonderful man. They'll get tired, and the prime minister will get tired. He'll say, look, let's forget this deal, and I could understand it if you did. It's been sitting in Congress now for 6 or 7 months, and it's a great deal for everybody. So hopefully they can get it done and get it done fast, and it's one of the few transactions I think all three countries benefit really as a unit against the world. If you look at it, it really is a unit against the world. And that's the way we looked at it right from the beginning, so we hope that's the case. Again, congratulations. We're going to be talking about a number of subjects, including additional trade to that, and the military and the military presence, and it's great being at NATO. We had some real success, I think, and some very successful talks having to do with NATO. As you know, a lot of the countries have stepped up, and they're putting in at least 130, probably the exact number is $131 billion more, and that's great. And they have commitments for $400 billion, so it really has become a force. And as we've discussed in the past, there's going to be great flexibility shown now with NATO. We can go to other parts of the world, not just one focus. It's a lot of focuses, and we need a lot of focuses. We need a lot of focus. We'll be looking at other forms of terror. We'll be looking at other countries. We'll be looking at countries that are aggressive, and not just one particular part of this world. So I think NATO's become a very big factor over the last 2 or 3 years. You've been involved. I've been involved. And a lot of good things have happened, and it's great to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be sitting down with President Trump. The relationship between Canada and the United States is incredibly strong. I don't think it's ever been stronger. Our work together on the USMCA as we move forward towards ratification has been really tremendous. It's been a great process working with between your team and our team, working with the Mexicans as well. We know that we're here for NATO, a 70th anniversary, extremely important. The American strength in ensuring that people are stepping up in terms of their military investments is certainly something we've recognized in Canada. We're increasing our defense investments by 70% over these 10 years because we know that making sure that everyone is there to step up and deliver is really important. We have an enhanced forward battle group in Latvia. We're leading the command mission in Baghdad. Canadians are a strong part of this alliance and will continue to be. But this is just a great opportunity for me to sit down with the President and talk about the many issues in which we align and we work together. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici avec le Président Trump pour parler de la NATO, pour parler de l'OTAN, de parler de nos relations privilégiées.
That sounded very good. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, climate change is a top priority for the Prime Minister here as well as for President Macron earlier. We've not heard you talk about it on this trip, and it doesn't appear to be on your agenda. Are you thinking about that issue? And
I think about it all the time, Phil, and honestly, climate change is very important to me. And, I've done many environmental impact statements over my life, and I believe very strongly in very, very crystal clear, clean water and clean air. That's a big part of climate change. I also see what's happening with our oceans, where certain countries are dumping unlimited loads of things in and they float. They tend to float toward the United States. I see that happening, and nobody's ever seen anything like it, and it's gotten worse. But no, it's very important to me also. But I want clean air and clean water. That would be number one and number two. Very important.